Hi, I just got back from seeing Everything Everywhere All at Once, the new film from Daniels, the production name of Daniel Scheinert and Daniel Kwan. It's a complex film to try and define, a science fantasy, comedy, drama with martial arts elements, um, and to try and boil it down to a simple synopsis, the story centers on Evelyn Wang, who, with her husband Waymond, runs a uh, laundrette. Her daughter has started bringing her girlfriend home, and although her parents are fine with it, they're not really accepting who she is in and of herself. Evelyn's father, Gong Gong, has come to visit. He's very elderly, very Chinese, but struggles with the kind of being in America. And most importantly of all, the business is being audited by the IRS. And so Evelyn and Waymond go to the IRS building to meet their IRS agent, who is played by Jamie Lee Curtis. And while they are there, suddenly Waymond's behavior changes, and he tells Evelyn that she has to fulfill these particular modes of behavior, and then they'll be able to talk more. And it turns out that, in fact, this other Waymond is from another universe, that there is a force going through the multiverses, um, seemingly bent on destroying everything, and that Evelyn may be the only key to try and prevent it, um, and using a technique called verse jumping, where she can jump into alternate versions of herself in other universes and gain their skills. So we have this science fiction premise. There's a lot of humor in it because in order to verse jump, you have to break with um, behavior patterns, do something strange and unexpected. And it goes from switching your shoes over to stuffing work performance awards up your bottom. Um, and the drama element of the reveal of who the villain is and that character's relationship to Evelyn. And it's a big, complex thing. It is, I mean, it lives up to its title of being everything everywhere all at once. It is covering the multiplicity of multiverses in a way far beyond the reach of the most recent Doctor Strange films. This isn't just going to three or four. This is going to literally thousands. There are flash frames of hundreds of multiverses going by, anything from ones that are generally quite similar to ones that, for example, have Evelyn and the IRS agent living as a couple, but in a universe where human beings have hot dogs for fingers, or one where there isn't even any life at all, and instead Evelyn and her daughter are just two rocks who converse in the form of on screen subtitles. It is a massively ambitious story, and the level of creativity and the level of control in trying to harness all of this in a coherent story is incredibly impressive. And the Daniels have done an extraordinary work. I mean, this is easily one of the most creative, most original films I've seen in a very, very long time. There is a big flaw in it, and it's simply that it doesn't have the guts, or not necessarily that, but the reach to go beyond that for its entire length. I found the film's resolution to fall back on quite well worn and quite lazy tropes and cliches for the resolution of the overall story, which was really disappointing. It does bring it all roughly together. I think there are still quite a few threads that are left unexplained or unclear, just because of you're often not sure which universe you're in. I've never had to say that about a film before, um, because there are so many different versions of so many different characters. Some we see only very briefly in one universe are major figures somewhere else. We see, I mean, in terms of major characters, about a dozen different versions of Evelyn, a dozen different versions of her husband, a dozen different versions of her daughter. Um, as I say, it's massively ambitious. It's often very funny, and the drama element of dealing with these serious real world problems like mother daughter relationships, husband and wife, because Waymond is about to serve Evelyn with divorce papers because of how estranged they've become and how emotionally distant they've become, dealing with the struggling business which is on the verge of falling apart. All of this balanced against colossal multiversal concerns and um, going off on strange tangents. And even the writers have said that, having already made a couple of films, they thought, well, why don't we just do everything in this next one? Why don't we commit the sin that so many first-time filmmakers make of trying to do everything? You know, do your entire filmography in one film, um, but trying to turn that into something that the story would actually be about, of condensing everything you can think of into a single film. It doesn't have the elegance of something like Cloud Atlas, which tried to encompass the entirety of the human experience in 3 hours. This is just focusing on one person's potential journeys through her life. And that focus, I think, is a very strong idea. It's just that it can't quite transcend the tropes of classic family melodrama in its resolution, when throughout its entire length, it has done so well to be completely original, completely creative. The performances are fantastic across the board. Michelle Yeoh, I don't think I've seen her deliver a thorough dramatic performance before, but she's absolutely terrific. Her performances, the various iterations of Evelyn, are fantastic. Yeoh is a shoe-in at the Oscars, I think, for a nomination. Ke Kwan, hopefully pronounced correctly, as her husband, will be remembered for playing Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, or Data in The Goonies. This is his first American film in, I think, 30 years, and he's excellent. Stephanie Su as the daughter is superb. Jamie Lee Curtis is quite a small role, really, but it's an interesting performance, and it's very against type. Um, it's Everyone really cares. Everything is full throated. Everything is done with absolute commitment, absolute energy. It's just such a shame that at the last hurdle, it it stumbles. The ending, without going into spoilers, the ending is emotionally satisfying, but it felt you could have got to that point by a different route rather than just taking the last mile through in a straight line after the rest of the movie has gone in every direction possible. I felt that was a shame. Nevertheless, as one of the most thoughtful and intelligent and creative films I've seen in a long time, with a completely freewheeling original energy, I recommend it very highly. But brace yourself for the ending.